At some point today or tomorrow or sometime in the next week, something will happen to your face without your permission. Someone will say something that embarrasses you. You will make a mistake in front of others. You will be praised unexpectedly and feel suddenly exposed. You will be caught thinking something you did not mean to reveal, and blood will rush to the surface of your cheeks, your ears, and neck, visible, uncontrollable, announcing to everyone in the room that something is happening inside you that you would very much prefer to keep private. You cannot stop it. You cannot fake it. You cannot produce it on command. It is the only human expression that is entirely involuntary and entirely social, triggered not by physical sensation or immediate danger, but by the specific experience of unwanted attention from other people. And no other animal on Earth does it. Charles Darwin was fascinated by blushing. He called it the most peculiar and most human of all expressions. He spent years corresponding with missionaries, colonial administrators, and travelers around the world asking a single question: do people of all races and in all cultures blush? The answer that came back, consistently, was yes. Blushing has been documented in every human population ever studied. It appears to be universal, but it has never been documented in any other species. Not in our closest primate relatives, not in any other social mammal, not anywhere in the animal kingdom outside of one specific branch of one specific genus. Just us. The physiological mechanism is straightforward. When you experience the specific social emotion that triggers blushing, embarrassment, shame, guilt, pride, the feeling of being unexpectedly seen, your sympathetic nervous system activates and releases adrenaline. Adrenaline causes the smooth muscle walls of blood vessels to relax. In most of the body, this produces a general increase in blood flow, supporting the fight or flight response. But the blood vessels in your face contain a specific type of receptor, beta-adrenergic receptors, that are more densely concentrated there than anywhere else in the body. These receptors respond to adrenaline by dilating the facial vessels specifically, flooding the cheeks and ears and neck with blood, and producing the visible reddening that you cannot control and cannot hide. This is the mechanism. It does not explain why the mechanism exists, because from a straightforward evolutionary perspective, blushing makes no sense. It is a signal that involuntarily reveals your internal state to the people around you at precisely the moment you most want to conceal it. If you have done something wrong, blushing announces it. If you are lying, blushing undermines the lie. If you feel exposed, blushing confirms the exposure. It is, as a tool for social navigation, apparently self-defeating. It tells the people observing you exactly what you would prefer they did not know. So why did it evolve? Why does every human population have it? Why has it persisted through hundreds of thousands of years of natural selection in a species where social navigation is the primary determinant of survival and reproduction? The answer that researchers have converged on over the last 30 years is one that initially sounds paradoxical. Blushing persists because it is honest, and honesty in a social species is not self-defeating. It is valuable, more valuable in many contexts than concealment. Psychologist Dr. Keltner at the University of California, Berkeley, has spent decades studying embarrassment and its social functions. His research has consistently found that people who blush are trusted more than people who do not. In experiment after experiment, observers who watch someone blush in response to an embarrassing or morally relevant situation rate that person as more trustworthy, more likable, and more pro-social than observers who watch someone who does not blush in the same situation. The blush functions as a credibility signal. It tells the people watching that you are the kind of person whose internal state matches your external presentation, that you are not successfully concealing something, that the social norms that hold the group together matter to you enough to produce a physiological response when you violate them. In a group where everyone can blush and everyone can observe blushing, the blusher is at an advantage. Not in the moment of embarrassment, that is genuinely unpleasant, but over time, in the accumulated social accounting that determines who is trusted and who is excluded, blushing is a net positive. It is an uncheatable signal of social investment. You cannot fake a blush to seem trustworthy. You cannot suppress a blush to seem calm. The involuntariness is the entire point. A signal that can be faked is worth less than a signal that cannot. This is why blushing is specifically triggered by social attention rather than physical pain or danger. The whole function of the response is communicative. It is not protecting you from a predator. It is not managing your physiology in a crisis. It is telling the people around you something about your relationship to the group and its norms, something you could not tell them nearly as convincingly with words. Researcher Ray Crozier has argued that blushing is fundamentally a submission display, a signal that communicates to the group that you recognize you have transgressed, that you accept the social judgment, that you are not a threat to the norms that hold the community together. In this framework, blushing is not a weakness, it is a social tool. It diffuses potential conflict before it escalates. It signals contrition without requiring verbal admission. It tells the people who witness your transgression that you understand what happened and that the relationship can continue. This explains a feature of blushing that has puzzled researchers for years: the fact that it can be triggered by positive attention as well as negative. Being complimented unexpectedly, being praised in public, being the center of attention even for good reasons, can produce a blush just as reliably as embarrassment at a mistake. The common thread is not shame or guilt. The common thread is unwanted visibility, the sudden awareness that you are being seen by others more clearly than you intended to be. The blush responds to any significant discrepancy between your public self you are presenting and your private self you are aware of. Whether the discrepancy is caused by a mistake or by unexpected praise is secondary. What the blush is actually responding to is the gap, the moment when the boundary between your inner experience and your public presentation becomes permeable in a way you did not choose. Mark Twain wrote that humans are the only animals that blush, or need to. He meant it as a joke about human moral complexity, but the second part of the sentence is more interesting than it sounds. The need to blush requires a social world sophisticated enough to have norms, complex enough for those norms to be violated, and stable enough that the long-term cost of norm violation outweighs the short-term benefit of getting away with it. It requires a species for whom reputation is not just useful but essential, where how you are perceived by the group determines your access to resources, relationships, protection, and the accumulated benefits of social living. No other animal lives in a social world quite like that. Social insects have norms, but not reputation in the individual sense. Other primates have dominance hierarchies, but the signaling around norm violation is expressed through behavior rather than involuntary physiology. Only humans have developed a social system so complex, so reputation dependent, so sensitive to the alignment between inner states and outer presentations that the body itself evolved a mechanism to manage the gap. The blush is not a malfunction. It is not the body betraying you at the worst possible moment. It is a piece of social technology so sophisticated that took millions of years of evolution to build, and so subtle that we have spent most of human history being embarrassed by it rather than understanding what it is. The next time your face does it without asking your permission, consider what it is actually saying. Not "I am weak," not "I have failed," but something closer to this: I am the kind of creature for whom what you think of me matters. I am the kind of creature that built a civilization on the accumulated weight of reputation and trust. I am the kind of creature that's body tells the truth even when the mind would prefer to stay quiet. That is not something to be embarrassed about. Or if it is, your face will let everyone know anyway.